Hi there, how you doing? This is Bob Menzies coming to you from Vancouver Island in Canada with another episode of the Songwriter Life. And this time I'd like to share with you how I realized a dream of making an album in Nashville. And I know it's a dream that a lot of singer-songwriters have, and I'd like to see you do it as well. If we've never met before, my name is Bob Menzies, and I guess I started making records and writing songs seriously after I retired. So I've been doing it about 6 years now, and just been having a lot of fun. I've really been able to pursue art as I always wanted to be. Hello, Jay. Nice to see you here. Sandy, thanks for tuning in. It's great to hear from you. Swervin, nice to see you too. And Nelson, hi there. Hi there. Thanks for coming along. Please, if you like, hit a like button or share this video. I'm perfectly okay with that. Share the love, as they say. So, like I said, I'm having a really good time doing this. I write every day. It's what gets me up in the morning. It's my passion. It gives me a reason to, have fun, if you like. I'm living the dream, if you like. Yes, hi there, Sandy. And this dream is something that, I guess what happened was I did make a couple of albums in Toronto. And then I thought to myself, well, I'd like to go really where there's great action. And that action is down in Nashville. I wasn't really sure about whether I could do it, but I knew I had songs. And I knew where there's a will, there's a way. So I began to look it up, use the internet. Thank goodness for the internet. It's a wonderful thing. I found out that there are studios in Nashville that produce demos, because Nashville is one of the few places now where there's an awful lot of songwriters. I guess LA too, but a lot of songwriters are able to sell their songs to country artists. But since I'm not really a country singer, I'm more of a folk singer, I guess, in the Gordon Lightfoot kind of tradition. But certainly I knew that the musicians in Nashville were top notch, and I'd already learned from from making albums in Toronto that session people really can get things done very efficiently and will follow directions, and they're passionate about their craft. So I did contact them and began to make some preliminary inquiries, and it turned out that these studios in Nashville and they're really interesting because a lot of them are in old, not old, but houses that have been converted with their rooms being studios, different rooms and so on, but highly professional. And because they've been doing it so long, and in fact, Larry Beard, who ultimately became the producer on that first album, Citizens of Nashville, that they did, he was really able to help me put things, because you gotta think you're getting to Nashville and what do I do, but their whole reason for being is to just make great music happen. But I'll get back to that in a minute, because I want to show you how you can make a record with A-listers. And those folks, hi Pam, nice to see you. Edward, Pierre, nice to see you too. Thanks for tuning in. Again, feel free to share or comment or hit a like button. So what happened was, now I had kind of decided in my mind, I said, I think I can do this. So I brought it up at home over the kitchen table. And the first reaction was, what? Why? Why would you want to go to Nashville? That's a pretty big endeavor and so on. So it turned out we were on vacation here on Vancouver Island before we moved here. So I thought to myself, I got to get devious about this, because I sure don't want to go down there alone. I sure want my lovely Geraldine to come with me. Hi, Lester. Okay, great to hear from you. So I started to write this song. Now, it turned out the song is called Have You Ever Been to Nashville? I'll just grab my little Martin here and start to sing it. So it kind of goes, the first verse goes something like this. Have you ever been to Nashville? Here is that's the place to go. Make a record with the players, better than anyone you know. I wanna walk on down South Broadway, my guitar case in hand, and hang out down at Tootsie's Bar for a secret midnight jam. So that pretty well sums up what I wanted to do. It was to get down there and just see some of these places that I heard about, and play my guitar and see what would happen. What's to lose? What's to lose? And I will talk to you about the finances in a minute too. But again, I then wrote a killer chorus, which was the chorus designed to get my lovely wife to join me. So it kind of went like this. I've never been to Nashville, down in Tennessee, but if I go to Nashville, won't you come along with me? Oh, won't you come along with me? I might have missed a chord or two in there, but that's essentially how that first part of the song went. So let me just back up here for a minute. You know, when I mentioned to people that I've recorded in Nashville, you know, people get wide-eyed, and you know, there's a certain reverence creeps into their voice, sort of, you know, like, wow, that's pretty cool. Well, you know, it has this magic to it. And again, as I mentioned before, I'm a little more of a folk singer than a country singer, although I have been influenced, I think, by my time in Nashville. But they do all kinds of music, really. And it turned out a number of the people that I ultimately recorded with had recorded with people like Bob Seger. So, you know, what are you gonna get better than that? I was lucky enough to have an amazing drummer on the next two albums I actually did in Nashville, and he was a guy named Ed, who was I guess he had been on something like, I don't know, 300 gold records, you know, just millions of records sold, and had himself a great career, and but still loved to be in the studio. And I will tell you that studio musicians, well, they just love to work. They like to be in the studio. They like to be doing things, and so. And Larry himself, who was on this, and I'm not saying that's the studio you need to go to. There's a ton of studios down there. I just found it worked. His place really worked well for me. And you know, he had been a studio musician himself, and started a kind of a demo studio for songwriters, and really had an amazing operation going. It still has this amazing operation going with again some of these really top people. So we now when the song sort of went on, and I guess I was feeling a little more confident about really making this happen. So another verse came up, said, I've never been to Nashville, but that's soon gonna change. I'm gonna pack myself a bag or two, get it all arranged. I'm gonna book a studio and sing my songs just like a Rolling Stone. I'm gonna sing them on the sidewalk before I take them home. So again, back to my plan. So here's what it is. At the end of the day, the whole album in Nashville cost me about $6,000 US. Really just to make the album and hire the studio musicians and pay them and so on. And I knew what I was going to pay before going in. It was an agreed upon amount, signed union contracts with the players. Everybody was getting paid, and it was fair to everybody. And the rest of it, you know, certainly to go there cost you money. And now Nashville, of course, over the last few years has really gotten expensive. So, you know, when you're staying at hotels, you're going to be paying as much as you're paying in any fancy resort. So finally, my wife said, well, I'll agree to go on one condition, that we make it a driving vacation. So we drove from, we were then living in Toronto. We drove from Toronto down to Mississippi, actually, because I thought, well, if we're going to make a vacation out of it, we'll do some interesting things. So we stayed on an old cotton plantation just outside of Clarksdale, where the Crossroads, the famous Robert Johnson Crossroads is. And I worked on the songs again with my Zoom H4n and made the demos. And then we drove from there back up into Tennessee and off to Nashville, and again made it a tremendous vacation. And if you do that, kind of look at it, I've always looked at it as, what can music offer you if you're lucky enough to be playing? And I thought, well, it can offer me a chance to go to places maybe I wouldn't go, and also do some things that maybe I wouldn't do. So it turned out Nashville is an amazing place to be for a vacation, and I'm sure many of you have been there and you know what I'm talking about. So to combine that, plus when you get down there every night, you can go out and listen to other singers, songwriters, and incredible inspiration, and you'll see people from your hometown and from everywhere that go. So I think if you kind of look at it that way and say, okay, this is a way to do it, combine it as a vacation and do it. And at the end of it, I had my tracks. I did get them mastered back in Toronto and produced the CDs, and that was, of course, some other expenses. But for me, it was a cheap price to pay for a really, really happy experience. So, you know what? I'm going to sign off now, and I guess I can play you a little more. I had a bridge that I threw in there just to make the song kind of interesting, and it kind of went something like this. I got a suitcase full of songs. All my bills are up to date. All I need is my sweet girl. The rest I'll need to pay. I've never been to Nashville, down in Tennessee. If I go to Nashville, won't you come along with me? Oh, won't you come along with me? Hi, Dave. Thanks for joining. We might take an aeroplane or maybe my old car, but we're getting down to Nashville. Yes, we are. Yes, we're getting down to Nashville. Yes, we are. So that's kind of my story, and I liked it so much I did it again a couple more times, and I gotta say it's not a minute of it have I ever regretted. So listen, let me tell you that I'm so happy that so many of you have joined here today. I really do appreciate that, and feel free to make any comments that you like. But listen, thanks for spending a few minutes with me here, and I'm signing off now. This is Bob Menzies from Vancouver Island.